All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Um, we are streaming simultaneously on Facebook as well as on YouTube. Um, So we are recording this session. It's going to be available to view both on the DCAGT and the DCSD websites, as well as our DCAGT Facebook page and our YouTube channel. So we definitely want to honor your time. So we are going to get started right away. So first of all, DCAGT, it stands for the Douglas County Association for Gifted and Talented, and we are incorporated as a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the purpose and objectives of DCAGT. We are an affiliate of the Colorado Association for Gifted and Talented, so we're going to talk a little bit about affiliates and what that means. We're going to talk about some advocacy basics and go over some upcoming events that we have. And we'll also tell you about how to get involved and support DCAGT. So the presentation will last approximately half of the session, and then during the second half, we will open it up for questions. And I do want you to know that during the question and answer part, you can type your questions in the live stream in either Facebook or in YouTube, or if you're not comfortable with that, you can email us at info@dcagt.org, and we can get your question that way. So to get started, I am Becca Koster. I'm the president of DCAGT. So I have one student, a gifted student, and she is currently an 8th grader, and she attends Renaissance Secondary School in Castle Rock. My journey sort of to get information on giftedness, and that's led me here, started, I would say, when she was probably 1st grade-ish. And I realized at that point that I had a lot of learning to do. I grew up in rural Western Colorado, and many, many years ago. So with that, we had a very different sort of gifted programming and structure and identification than we do here in Douglas County. So I had a lot to learn, and I sought out information, and that sort of led me here. So next, I'd like to introduce you to Jen, and she'll tell you a little bit about herself.
Hi, I'm Jen Strickland. I am the vice president of DCAGT. I also went through gifted programming in a rural area many years ago, where the only option was 30 minutes a week. And when I had my son, who is 8, I had a feeling that we would be going through the gifted journey. I had no idea just how much of a gifted journey that was going to be. I didn't know very much about asynchronous development. I wasn't aware of the differences in executive functioning. And I had a lot to learn, even though I went through a lot of the giftedness. You know, I'm more grew up in the generation of just learn to deal with it. Whereas now we have a lot more understanding of how these kids' brains work. And so I knew from when he was a young age, I was probably going to have to advocate for him. He is in the Discovery program at Pine Lane. And I have another child who is a year old. So we'll see if she ends up needing some gifted programming too. And I felt like I needed to advocate for my kids, but I wanted to advocate for other people's gifted kids as well, because I felt like I wasn't the only one who didn't know what to do.
Yeah, definitely. I can echo that sentiment. I know that I've learned so much in these past several years, and really am advocating for my own child has made me realize how important it is to be able to advocate for other kids as well. All right, so I thought we'd talk a little bit about the purpose of DCAGT. So we are our own nonprofit organization, and we really want to foster an understanding of all gifted children and any of their subcategories, which does include twice exceptional children. So my child is categorized as a twice exceptional child. And they do have needs that are different than the general population. So we also advocate for their needs through partnerships with educators, with parents, and we definitely want to support both their educational as well as their social emotional well-being, because having that holistic approach, both the educational and the social emotional, is so vital for our gifted student population. So our objectives, we are making sure that we're supporting the efforts and activities of the Colorado Association for Gifted and Talented, as well as the National Association for Gifted Children and neighboring CAGT affiliates. So we are an affiliate of the Colorado Association of Gifted and Talented, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. And Colorado Association of Gifted and Talented is an affiliate of the National Association of Gifted and Talented. So one of the ways that we meet our objectives is we present gifted resources and provide different opportunities to families and caregivers in the community. We want to encourage advocacy for our gifted students, and we want to make sure that we are reaching out and connecting with the gifted community to provide them ways to share experiences and exchange information. I know for me personally, that's one of the ways that I've really been able to grow as a parent, is talking to other parents who might be experiencing similar types of situations with their children. So Douglas County Association of Gifted and Talented, we started off quite a few years ago, and fairly recently, I'd say the last 2 or 3 years, we incorporated, and we're now officially a 501c3 nonprofit. So doing that, I think, has really benefited our organization, and we are an all volunteer organization. So all of the things that we put together, the people that volunteer with us, we do it because we have a true passion for helping gifted students within our community. So I mentioned that we are an affiliate, and we're the affiliate for the Douglas County area. So CAGT affiliates are really sort of the boots on the ground groups in Colorado that support connections. So helping parents. So and different affiliates are sort of, they might have a little bit of a different structure, or they might have leadership that might be more educator based or more parent based. In Douglas County, I am a parent, I'm not an educator. I know that the Denver affiliate in Denver County, they're much more educator based, but our goals and objectives are very, very similar. So if parents and families have questions, they need resources, maybe assist in problem solving, sort of at the local level, then families can reach out to us. We talk to them, we email them, we have different ways of communicating with people on Facebook and things like that to sort of provide information to help connect people with those resources. We also frequently work with DCSD and their gifted education office. But we are here to support all of the gifted and talented students in Douglas County. So your child doesn't have to be a student in the DCSD school system for us to advocate for them. So we have people who have children in private school, who have children who homeschool. And so we just want to make sure that all families are welcome, and for you all to know that. All right. So this is just sort of a graphic that sort of shows how the affiliate structure works. So specifically in Douglas County, DCAGT is sort of our local level. We roll up to the Colorado Association of Gifted and Talented. There are numerous affiliates in the state. They are started by different individuals and groups. So it's important to note that not all areas have an affiliate, but there are ways if there are families or groups of educators who want to start an affiliate in an area that's not currently covered, that CAGT has a way for those affiliates to get started. And then the state level organizations roll up to the National Association for Gifted Children. So Colorado Association for Gifted and Talented is our state association, but other states have those as well. So I think that that is important to kind of understand. And I know that when I was first familiarizing myself with the different organizations within sort of this gifted sphere, that was one of the things that took me sort of a while to figure out. All right. So I thought we'd talk a little bit about what we do as DCAGT. So we work to provide information to our families, and we do this in a lot of different ways. So this DCAGT Live, this is one of the ways that we provide information to people. So we started doing these last year, and we've talked about numerous different topics. So we've talked about specifically gifted programming in the Douglas County School District. We've talked about the Discovery Program, sort of transitioning from middle school to high school. We had a session on executive functioning. We've talked about early access to kindergarten and first grade. We had a session on twice exceptional students. And one thing that I do want to note is that the DCAGT Lives, they are recorded. And so people can always go back and look at the ones that might interest them, or you might have something that has come up and maybe you need to sort of review or revisit the executive functioning one that we had last year, and you can definitely go and do that. So the DCAGT Lives are found on our Facebook page, as well as our website. And then we do have a YouTube channel, and we'll have links to those in a little while. So one of the other ways that we provide information is in our newsletter and our Facebook page. And I'm going to have Jen talk a little bit more about that.
So every month we put out a newsletter. Anybody's welcome to contribute as well. So if you have anything that you've written, go ahead and send it to me. The email is Jen, Jenn, @dcagt.org, or you can send it to info@dcagt.org. But it's more of a place where you can get all the next month's information all in one spot. We actually have an opportunity to win prizes in our newsletter this year. Last year, we started doing brain teasers. So this year, if you answer the brain teaser and you're the first person to get it correct, you can win either a $5 coffee card or a copy of the Parent's Guide to Gifted Children book. Just to let everybody know, not one person has sent me an answer yet. So there's still an opportunity to go search out our newsletter for September and read it and answer the question and send it to me. We'll have a different question next week. You'll win fame and glory and have your name in the newsletter for the next month, unless you choose not to. We have the Facebook page. One of the best ways to interact with us there is through the messages. Becca and I both have access to it, and we try to get an answer back to you within 24 hours. We can't do recommendations, but we can give you insight on maybe where to go or what steps you need to take or who you can talk to. So that's usually a good way to get a hold of at least one of us two. But you can also post your questions and see if the community has any answers for you as well. So those are just two of the ways to get a hold of us. There's also that info@dcagt.org that's always available to you as well. I would also encourage you to check out our website on occasion. We're kind of in the process of revamping it, but if you go to our website, you'll find those archived Facebook Live videos. You'll find contact information for all the board members and just general information about us.
All right, great. Thank you. So one of the other things that we do is we really partner closely with DCSD's Advanced Academics and Gifted Education team. We have found that a large percent of our population has students that are students in the Douglas County School District. So having that strong partnership allows us to make sure that we can get information out to you all that you might really need. So one of the things that we have coming up is a GT 101, and we're partnering with the district on that. We'll have the date a little bit later in this slide, but some of the DCAGT lives that we had last year were very specific to gifted programming within DCSD, and having that partnership really allows us to get that information out to you. So another thing that I've personally found really, really helpful is this Grow Our Community. So I became interested in volunteering with DCAGT. As I said before, I have a student, she's now an 8th grader, but there was a point in my student's journey where I really needed information and I needed resources. So I started seeking out information. I found DCAGT and I found people that I could talk to. They connected me with information, with resources, so that I could become informed. And with that, I also found some really wonderful people who I felt understood by, and I felt like they understood my student and sort of our journey. I found that, unfortunately, that sometimes there's a stigma associated with talking about your gifted child. Some people, I think, because perhaps the designation of gifted makes it seem like your student is going to always be okay and may not really need additional help or resources. And luckily, right now, my student is doing really well. But this gifted sort of advocacy thing I found to be a real journey. And there have been times where I've needed more help and I've needed to advocate more. And sometimes I've found that my student might need more help, or I might need to understand her a little better so I can approach what's happening in a different way. And I've found people in this community who really understand that and can really empathize with what's happening. And so for me personally, I love the community aspect of it.
Yeah, it's more like we're an advocacy group, but we're more like a support group.
Yeah, we're a very unofficial support each other group because, sometimes my child is very specific about what I can and cannot share about her. But there have been times where she has some sensory issues, and I've met people whose children also have sensory issues, and we can discuss them, and nobody thinks that it's necessarily odd that maybe my child will only wear one exact kind of pant, or that I would find something that she would wear and then I would buy it in the next 3 sizes so that I would know that I don't have to figure out what she would wear next. So those are the kinds of like community things that I personally have really enjoyed. So another thing that that we do is we connect people to the resources. As Jen said previously, we can't necessarily give recommendations, but we do want to help families understand who they can contact, provide some best practices for advocating for their student, connect them up with information that other organizations have that will provide them the information that they need to help their lives be a little bit easier. So yeah. All right. So the next thing that we'll talk about is advocacy and partnership. So one of the things that we often talk to families about is how to advocate for your child. And so I mentioned previously that I feel like advocacy is a journey. So, there might be times that things are going smoothly, and sit back and enjoy those times. Other times you might find that you need to have a little bit more involvement. So during those times, I would say always start with your student's teacher. And I truly recommend approaching the interaction with the goal of developing a partnership, because really that's what it is. You want to have what's best for your student and what will work best for them. And the teacher also wants that. So to develop that really strong partnership is going to be able to help you, the teacher, and your student. There's also a gifted education coordinator in each one of the DCSD schools. So this person there's a list on the DCSD Gifted Education webpage. The Gifted Education Coordinator at each school has information about the gifted programming that's available at your child's school. So take some time to introduce yourself to that person, develop a partnership with them. That's the person who you will be able to get specifics from. And a lot of times you can partner with the teacher and the gifted education coordinator if your child needs something specific. And so I've found knowing who that person is, having a relationship with that person to be very invaluable. Sort of that next step is the leadership team. So if you need to talk to the principal or the school leader, you can definitely do that, but after you've worked with the teacher and the gifted education coordinator. It also doesn't hurt to introduce yourself to the leader of the school when you don't necessarily need to advocate for your student, just so they know who you are and they know who your student is. Another great thing, if you're able, is to volunteer at your school. So You might be able to volunteer in the classroom or in the library or in the front office. I know that for myself, when my daughter was in elementary school, I volunteered a lot. And I was fortunate to be able to do that. But I was able to connect with other parents and get to know the staff. And I found it to be really rewarding. So the last item on this list for school level partnership and collaboration is the School Accountability Committee. So this is a committee that advises a principal on school performance, on budgeting, and parental engagement. And all families are welcome to attend these meetings. Your school website has a listing of when these meetings take place. I found personally that attending these meetings really gave me a great deal of insight into sort of the inner workings of a school. As somebody who's not an educator, I was really fascinated by some of the things that I learned and some of the budget cycles and different kinds of things that I just didn't know about. So I would highly recommend attending one of these meetings if you can. So the next thing we'll talk about is district level partnership and collaboration. So in the same way that schools have accountability committees, the district as a whole has an accountability committee. So they collect feedback from each school accountability committee, and they advise the Board of Education. This is another great way to get involved, to learn more about the inner workings of the district as a whole. I've been able to attend a few of these meetings, and I like to learn things. So going to these kinds of meetings, I find really valuable. The next partnership opportunity is it's the Douglas County Association, or no, it's a Douglas County Gifted Education Advisory Council, and the other acronym-y term is DCAGT. So their mission is to gather, communicate, and disseminate information to stakeholders. So this group serves in an advisory capacity to DCSD. So again, this is another great way to get involved if that's something that you're interested in, sort of at the district level. And then the last thing on here is the Board of Education. So parents and families are always welcome to provide public comment for the Board of Education, and all of their meetings that are public meetings, they're live streamed. You can watch them. You can see all of their agendas and all of the supporting documentation. And it's another great way to gain information and learn more about the school district. So the next thing that we'll talk about is state level organizations. So the first one we will talk about is the Colorado Association for Gifted and Talented. So CAGT is sort of that state level organization for us. And they are a statewide advocacy group. And they're focused on improving the lives and opportunities for gifted students. They provide a wealth of information on their website. They have fantastic conferences, and they also have what's called Conversations with CAGT, and they occur on most Tuesdays at 5. I highly recommend that you look through past Conversations with CAGT as well as upcoming ones. They have all sorts of national speakers, and the topics and information they provide are amazing. I personally am not able to watch them at the time that they are live, but I go back and watch them later.
Well, one thing that's nice too is if you're a CAGT membership, you are able to send in your questions to them early and they will make sure that they get asked. So if you're not able to actually watch the conversations with CAGT, you can still get your question answered because all of the conversations with CAGT are recorded and archived as well. Their next one is building tenacity and resilience through social emotional learning. And that will be Tuesday. So it's going to, that's probably going to be a really good one, especially if your child has any issues with executive functioning or sensory issues in the classroom or oversensitivity. I'm actually really looking forward to this one and already sent my questions in. So.
Nice. Yeah, I will be watching this one later in the evening tomorrow because we could use this information in my household. And maybe not just for my student, but maybe for myself. All right. So
yeah, I did feel a little called out on the perfectionism one that they had last year. So just to mention, you might feel a little sting every now and then when you watch these.
Yeah. Sometimes you recognize yourself. So that's always interesting. So the next thing on here is the Gifted Education State Advisory Council, and that's GSAC. So it was created in 1984, and the focus of GSAC is to advise the State Board of Education on all aspects of gifted student education. So GSAC members are made up of stakeholder representatives from the different congressional districts. So right now there are 7. There will be 8 soon. And the stakeholders, their parents, their educators, their student representatives, and then they have a very formal process for applying to be a member of GSAC. I am actually the parent representative for our congressional district's area to the GSAC. I've also, again, found this really valuable. And as a side note, if you have some time and you're interested, the State Board of Education website is really, really, really valuable in terms of learning what the laws are that govern gifted education in the state of Colorado. So I just thought I'd throw that out there. All right, so the next thing that we'll talk about is the national organizations. So we talked very briefly about the NAGC. So they're sort of our national association. So their mission is to support those who enhance the growth and development of gifted and talented children through education, advocacy, community building, and research. And their website contains so much fantastic information. They are also having the national conference here in Denver from November 11th through November 14th. It might be something that you may want to look into. Their website has an area where you can look and see what kinds of topics they're going to talk about and what kind of sessions they're going to offer. They're also going to have a parent day. It's going to take place on Saturday, November the 13th. Oh, and I don't have details on that yet, but as soon as those details are released, We will make sure to provide that out on the Facebook page as well as in our newsletter, so that those parents who are interested in going to that will be able to get more information. They'll have gifted education leaders and from all over the country. I think it's going to be an amazing opportunity to learn more about giftedness.
Well, and if you are interested, the link for registration is in our newsletter. In the referred by, if you put the code 21CAGT, you'll actually get a CAGT membership for the year included with that, which again gets you early access to the conversations with CAGT. But also keep in mind that their price currently is discounted, and that changes September 30th. So if you want to register, I recommend doing it before September 30th when the price goes up. They also are having a fully virtual option this year. So you can either go in person, it's at the Gaylord Rockies.
Yes.
Right? Yes. And then it's in person there, and then you can do fully remote. You should have access to that for a few months afterwards as well. So if you don't have it time to watch them all at once, you could watch them later. But definitely going to be a great convention, and you'll get to see me and a couple other board members in person if you go.
Definitely. All right. So the last organization on our list for national organizations is supporting the emotional needs of the gifted. So they are also a nonprofit organization. They want to empower families and communities to guide gifted and talented individuals to reach their intellectual, their physical, their emotional, their social, and their spiritual goals. They have a wonderful website with so much fantastic information. I've gone to their website to look at different articles so many times over the years. And my original journey into this sort of gifted world was actually in a Sang parent model group where I was able to meet other parents of gifted kids. All right. So with that, we have some upcoming events. So on October the 4th, we're going to have a GT 101. We don't have specific details yet, but again, our newsletter as well as Facebook page and the newsletter that the Gifted Education Office from DCSD, their newsletter will have information about it. Our next DCAGT Live is going to be the 25th of October, and we're going to be talking about the Discovery Program. So for those of you who don't know, the Discovery Program is for students between the grades of 2nd grade and 6th grade who require a very rigorous, all-inclusive gifted programming. So more information will be provided at that. And then we have some board meetings, the remainder of the board meetings throughout the year. So those are some of our upcoming events. And then I'll have Jen talk to you a little bit more about how to stay connected with us.
Okay, and I actually, I did notice that we did have a question. The CAGT conversation is tomorrow. I will have Becca post the link for that into the comments since I am not able to currently.
Yes, I will get that.
And then, yeah, so the current ways that we have, other than the website and email to contact DCAGT would be our Facebook page. our newsletter and YouTube. We do know there's quite a few people who don't want to have Facebook or other social media, but you can still contact us through YouTube. These Facebook Lives are actually simulcast onto YouTube at the same time. And then we get the questions at the same time too. You can always ask your questions early at info@dcagt.org. The newsletter is going to be your best source for information. We actually will post information from CAGT in there, as well as information from Douglas County School District. Again, anytime you want to submit anything for consideration to be put in there, feel free. We want it to be a place for you guys as well. And again, mentioning the contest, because it's a really great book. So if you guys can get a copy of that for free from us for answering a trivia question, highly recommend it. But the Facebook page seems to be the most popular way to get a hold of us. Again, if you message us through the DCAGT page, it's going to be either Becca or I that answers you. We try to get back within 24 hours. We might not know the answers, but we should have a good idea between the two of us who you need to go to get the answers.
Definitely. All right. So, oops, I went backwards. All right. So I mentioned earlier that we are an all-volunteer organization, and we are interested in having volunteers. So if that's something that you're interested in, you can email Kara at dcagt.org. We are currently putting together a list of the different kinds of things that we need to have done. And we look forward to hearing from you. We'd love to sort of grow our DCAGT community and get to know you. And I'm going to have Jen talk a little bit about Amazon Smile and King Soopers rewards.
Well, and before I do that, I'll mention too, with the volunteering, we do understand that a lot of people don't have the bandwidth to be a board member and to do a full-time commitment to volunteering. So a lot of the things that we need will maybe take 5 or 10 minutes. So if you're interested in helping at all with the volunteering, do email Kara. She'll have a nice spreadsheet and she can reach out to you when we have something that might fit, things that you're willing to do. If you're completely unable to volunteer, we understand that too, but the other two ways to support DCAGT are Amazon Smile and King Super Rewards. If you shop at Amazon or if you shop at King Soopers, these two options cost you nothing in addition, and Amazon and King Soopers will donate a portion of your purchase to DCAGT. With Amazon Smile, you just have to go to the smile.amazon.com and make sure that you choose DCAGT. King Soopers Rewards takes a few minutes to set up, but then you never have to think about it again. You have to go into your community rewards. As long as you have a King Soopers rewards card, you use your phone number or the card whenever you're checking out, that'll contribute to DCAGT. The community rewards takes about 5 minutes to set up at the most. If you have any questions on how to set that up, you can email me at Jenn, Jenn, at dcagt.org or info@dcagt.org. And I can send you screenshots on how to sign up for the King Soopers rewards with either an iPhone, with an Android, or on the computer. So if you get a hold of us that way, like I said, it's something that you can do if you don't feel like you have the time, but it'll still help us to help all of our kids.
All right, wonderful. Thanks, Jen. I actually need to do that for both things. So maybe this will be a good night to do that. Yeah, that'll be good. My Amazon Smile, I switch twice a year, so I will switch to DCAGT. All right. So I'm going to leave this up, and I see that we have a couple questions about email addresses. So yes, you can definitely both reach both of us via email for specific questions. So if you want to reach me, I'm at becca@dcagt.org, and Jen is at jen@dcagt.org.
We're very creative. We're if you forget those, or if you lose track of them, if you go to the DCAGT.org website, we have a contact email for all the board members, except for I think I don't have Sarah's on there right now, but we have one for everybody else. We also noticed that there's or should mention before we get to the questions, that there is an engagement event tomorrow night regarding safety and mental health, or Wednesday night. And that's going to be through Douglas County School District. And, with the pandemic and everything, mental health has been a very important thing. So that's going to be a good event to attend.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Thank you for that. All right. So now we've reached the part where if you have questions, we are happy to answer those. So again, if you'd like, you can drop your questions into the comments in either YouTube or in Facebook. Or if you prefer, you can email us at info@dcagt.org. And
I did actually receive a question before.
Okay, great.
It was sent to me, and the question was, what do we do if our child hasn't been recognized as gifted yet? Gifted identification in Douglas County School District is very well listed on their website. However, you don't have to wait until second grade for them to take the COGAT. You can actually, going back to the school advocacy, talk to the teacher, talk to the gifted facilitator at your school, and you can request that your child take the COGAT early. That's going to be the number one tool that we use for identification. We use other things as well, such as, I should say they, because we partner all with them. They use a body of evidence. So if if your child was writing short stories at 3 or 4 years old and you have copies of those, you can bring those. Anything you can do. They do encourage parent advocacy with their students as well. Nobody's going to know your student as well as you are.
Yeah, and with that, if it's something that you're interested in, I could definitely put a link to past DCAGT Live that talked about specifically the gifted identification and referral process in DCSD. And then you can get some real nitty-gritty on sort of how the referral process works, how the identification process works, what that body of evidence consists of. So that's something that I can, let me get that and I'll put that in.
Well, they are going to be sending out information on the COGAT in the next few weeks to all Douglas County School District families. And you can always, again, find the list for your gifted facilitator for your school on the Douglas County School District website.
All right. And that was a really great question.
Okay, we had another question. I'm sorry, which link are we looking for?
Oh, that's the gifted identification and referral process.
Oh, okay.
So let me get that.
Okay, I see a question. Once a kid's been identified as gifted, how long will it last? Your entire time in Douglas County School District. Gifted kids stay gifted. One thing that can't change is IQ. And if you're gifted, you're always going to be gifted. And so if you go to a different school district, you'll have to work with their district to see if it transfers over. A lot of districts do it differently. For instance, I know Denver Public Schools does not take outside testing as a form of identification for giftedness. Here in Douglas County, they will actually take that as evidence in the body of evidence. So yeah, if your child's been identified as gifted through the school district, they'll stay that way. Did you find the link, Becca? Because I can grab that. Oh, you got it.
Yeah, I got it.
And say I have it too. So.
All right, great. Oh, and then just one clarification. So there is a law that that allows gifted identification to be transferred in state.
Yes, sorry about that. I should say if you're coming from another district, so other districts do it differently, but once you are identified here, it stays your time in Colorado.
Yeah, and the specific GT designation lasts through the end of 12th grade.
Well, you stay gifted the rest of your life, but the official designation only goes through 12th grade.
Yes. Yes, definitely. All right, I'm going to check and see if we've gotten any questions through email. And for those of you watching, if you do email info@DCAGT, that email comes to both Jen and myself. So in case you want to know who's getting that email, it's just us. All right.
Now, I will warn you, if you let Becca talk you into meeting you for coffee, she's very persuasive and she'll tell you she needs help, and you will end up being involved in DCAGT because that's how it started for me. I volunteered to help a little, and now I'm stuck. Well, now she's stuck with me. She can't get rid of me now. So.
And here we are.
Yes.
All right. So we'll allow just a couple more minutes just in case anyone else has a question.
Well, and I would just like to take this opportunity to say thank you to Heather Groff and Natasha Strayer for helping us with this presentation with the information from the Douglas County School District side. They are both with the gifted group through the district, and they're extremely helpful and wonderful people. So I just wanted to give them a shout out while we had the opportunity.
Yes, definitely. So for those of you who don't know, Natasha and Heather, so Natasha's the Director of Advanced Academics and Gifted Programming, and Heather is the Family and Community Engagement Lead. And they are both listening on the live stream, so they can provide us some more detailed information for those of you who had questions specifically about the district. So
and they're both parents with parents of gifted kids, so they've been there too.
Yes, definitely. All right, I'm going to check one more time to see if there has been a question through the email, and I don't have anything. So I think with that, I'm going to let you all know again that our next event is going to be GT 101. It's going to be on October 4th. The information is going to be available in our newsletter, our Facebook page, and then the Advanced Academics and Gifted Programming Team's newsletter will have it as well. So thank you so much for joining us.
We do have one more question, Becca.
Oh, we do? Great.
We do. So the question is, if one needs to transfer to another school district after Douglas County GT is done, does it start over? And so they're wondering the example they gave was if we transfer to Cherry Creek. That just goes back to that law that was mentioned. if you've been identified in Douglas County School District until your student hits 12th grade, that will be recognized by the other school districts in the state. If you transfer to a different state, it becomes a little bit more complicated. A lot of states have different rules. So, it's going to probably require a little involvement with their state NAGC affiliate, to get more information from them.
Yeah. Yeah. And if it is a district in Colorado, the school district has a process to share all those records. The specific programming, gifted programming that your student may receive might look different, but the gifted identification is portable. So it allows the transfer. And again, they do have processes to get that transferred over.
And
all right.
I see no other questions. How about you, Becca?
I don't see any either. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining us. We hope you found the information helpful, and we look forward to seeing you again. So thank you so much, everyone.
Yep.
Thanks,
Bye.
Jen.